So, I figured this would be the time that I finally talk about Godzilla again. It's been a while since I have. It's been, I believe, a couple of months. The first review I've ever did, or one of the few, was Godzilla minus one, which pretty successful, if I'll be honest. It was like one of my most successful videos I've made at this point in time. So, ever since I like Godzilla so much and I've been itching to talk about it, I would just get right in with one of the more older films, specifically Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. The reason I chose this one specifically was because believe, if I'm not mistaken, Space Godzilla will show up in the next MonsterVerse film. At least I hope so, since he's pretty cool, I'll be honest. We'll see. I'm not going to hold my breath on that. Talk about a bit about this film. First of all, this film is very old. It's very light in tone. This isn't like a super serious film, if I'm being honest. Yes, there are some serious moments, but overall, in terms of a OG Godzilla film where the Godzilla himself is like this force of nature, he's not like that in this film. I also want to add that there are some films before this that I probably should have watched, but I skipped. I would suggest watching those if you get into this, just because there were some details in this movie that I think the last films before this would explain, because I got a little confused. Again, it's not super necessary. It is something to consider, considering the fact that this is an era of Godzilla that's really popular and that's really well known. I don't know which era it is specifically, but I know it is one of the more popular ones. I think I'll have it up in the edit, but the point is this film's very old. Go figure, it was made in 1994, if I remember correctly. To give it props, first of all, I think the suits look fantastic. You can tell that they are plastic suits. I don't know what the word for it would be, but they look very good, I'll be honest. And I think out of all the Godzilla films, besides Godzilla minus one, I think that is, in my opinion, the best design. This one is close to second. Yes, it looks kind of fake, but overall, the way that they're able to edit it in this film, this looks amazing. I think a lot of credit goes out to the costume department on this, because they did a really good job, especially with the special effects and what they were able to do at the time. I think is very commendable. I want to give it a plus for that. The villain as well, specifically Space Godzilla, which to kind of give my opinion on. Well, first off, let me just tell you all the backstory. Essentially, it is cells of Godzilla that got put into a black hole and essentially mutated in that black hole, turning into a version of Godzilla from space. And this guy is super busted. He's overpowered as shit. He shoots electricity from his breath, some shit like that. He's got telekinesis. He can make shields. He can fly. Like, this guy's got the nuts. Like, this dude is probably has the biggest move set out of any monster I have seen up until this very point. The only thing that OG Godzilla has over Space Godzilla is literally just destructive power. But besides that, this guy's the nuts. Like, he's super strong. I can't wait to see him in MonsterVerse whenever that happens. Point is that the villain's good. He looks good too, is what I will say as well. At first, I didn't like his design because it looks kind of weird, but it grows after a while. The only design in here, well, there's two, actually. I'll get to one of them later. Mogera, which is the big mech robot thing that was made by the Japanese government, essentially a specialized unit in the Japanese government in this movie. Again, not much is really known about them, or they don't talk about in this film, probably because talked about more in the last films before this one was made. I think you should watch. I think I'm gonna watch as well. This is why you don't skip films, guys. But anyways, yeah, Mogera, he looks kind of weird. I'm not gonna say the design is necessarily bad per se. I just think it looks kind of goofy to me, especially with how Mechagodzilla looks. You would think that I don't know. Maybe it's just a nitpick of mine. As for the story itself, it's very simple. It's basically this era of movies are monsters fighting monsters, or it's Godzilla fighting whatever monster is trying to threaten Earth. Essentially, is what it is. Very WWE, very standard type of vibe, monster bash type of deal here. You're not. It's not that complicated. There is human plot lines in here, but for the most part, I would say they're not as important. I'll say they're definitely better than, in my opinion, the human stories in this film are a lot better than in the MonsterVerse. That's not that big of a bar, but at the very least, it's something on the side, kind of like a something to relax to before the big monster battles begin. As for what I didn't like, so the story, again, the human story have always been kind of mediocre at best. This is actually one of the better human stories in a Godzilla or a monster film like this. It's not that super important, if I'm being honest with you. It's okay, but it's not something that I would say is spectacular or that's great. Pace breaker. I don't know, space out some of the monster fights. One of the major things that I do have a problem with is this. And then again, this is the thing that I talked about before that I was going to talk about is I don't know what you would call him, but I think what other people called him, Baby Godzilla. I don't know why he's here. He's literally he has no purpose in this movie. Literally none. He's just there to look cute, I guess, and to kind of add stakes. But other than that, I don't know why he's here. I don't know because I saw him before. I heard about him in like clips on YouTube just while I was browsing. I don't know why he's here. The most useless additions to the Godzilla franchise I think I've ever seen. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm being too harsh, but yeah, definitely was not needed in this film. Was pointless. Just was there to add more runtime. Just there to add more stakes, and I'm really not a fan at all. But again, luckily he's not in the film for that long, so you can kind of skip through that at the very least if you want to. Or you can kind of just wait it out since he's not really on the screen for that long. I don't know, it just felt like a pointless addition to add to the film. Other than that, though, I think this film does a lot of things well, and it's classic for a reason. I mean, it introduced Space Godzilla. It has one of the best Godzilla designs, in my opinion, from what I've seen so far. It has a decent human story, not the best, and I would prefer the story of Godzilla and just the monster battles over that, but it's a decent pace breaker, not something super spectacular. Overall, I will say some of the special effects do look kind of old, aged, and it definitely doesn't hold up as well today, but it's not too bad. It's not super distracting, just something that you kind of raise your eyebrow about. Most older films, you gotta kind of, or films that don't very odd special effects, you kind of have to give a lot of grace here, especially with the time that they were made. You kind of have to just deal with it. But overall, film's not bad. Figured I'd talk about it since maybe Space Godzilla will be in the next MonsterVerse film. I'm hoping he is because he's pretty freaking cool. Overall, though, that's my opinion on Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. It's a pretty good film. I'd give it a watch. I would just consider watching the films made before this one because I didn't. And there are some story things in this film that maybe would have made more sense to me if I had watched the other films before this one. Just something to consider, not necessary, but something that you should consider. That being said, see you on the next one.